Hello and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker and I'm your host. And today I'm excited to talk about the future of work and technology's role or how it's driving us into the future. So that's exciting. And I'm super excited to have David Carter with me, who is an expert in this space. He's a serial entrepreneur, otherwise known as the world's leading CEO mentor. And he's got 40 plus years of a track record in creative, innovative businesses and mentoring leaders and influencers around the globe. Now, he's going to have to help me with this wording, but Entelechy Academy is an important part of his legacy project. And he'll tell us more about that, where he gathered brilliant minds in education and coaching and professional organizations to support millions in becoming the best versions of themselves. So David, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Did I say that right?
Not quite.
All right, tell me how you pronounce that.
It's pronounced Entelechy.
Entelechy, oh, like intelligence, I get it.
Entelechy, and the word was coined by Aristotle 2,500 years ago. And it means the ultimate version of something with all of its potential fully actualized. So the entelechy of an acorn is an oak tree, the entelechy of a caterpillar is a butterfly, and the entelechy of Penny is the ultimate version of Penny with all of her potential fully actualized.
I love that. That's so cool. See, that's why we have to ask about when people make up words or use like old words. There's so much value, right, in that word that I never would have known. That's super cool.
I'll make a bet with you that the next month you use the word entelechy at least 3 times.
I'm going to use it now that I know it, right? It's a cool word. I really like it. But I'll bet you that every time I use it, people go, what? Right?
Yeah, but then you tell them and then they'll use it 3 times. So
that's right. So we'll be helping your brand as we pass it along.
Very good.
So why this topic about the future of work and technology, and how does that relate to actualizing our potential?
Let me go back to Aristotle, because he also coined another phrase. And that phrase was that character determines destiny. And what he meant by that was that we all end up wherever we end up in our life as a direct result of our character. And over the course of the last 30, 40 years in the US, Canada, all throughout Europe, all of the things that my generation did at school in a state education system to learn to develop what people might call soft skills or interpersonal skills or work-ready skills have been eviscerated out of the state education system because of cost cuts.
Right.
And so we don't have drama, sport, music, debating, and all of those things where you learn to be in a team, work in a team, collaborate, communicate.
So they've gotten rid of all of that in the UK?
And in America as well. And the emphasis is now a lot on in secondary education in STEM subjects, science, technology, engineering, maths.
True.
And every parent now and every school tells their children, get good SAT scores, get a good degree, go to a good university, and you'll be set up for life.
Right.
And actually what young people have found is that when they get out into the world of work, they're not work ready. And 50% of young people say they're not work ready, and 75% of their employers say they're not work ready. So right. What's missing? What's missing isn't the technical skills, it's those interpersonal human skills.
Yeah.
And for the last 10 years, enterprise has tried to solve this problem with what has been dubbed the soft skills crisis. And let me give you an example. So there's 77 essential soft skills that employers say that their applicants and their young workforce are lacking.
Uh-huh.
And one of them, for example, might be time management skills. So they send them on a day or a 2-day course on time management.
And they're fixed, right?
And they all score 95% in the quiz at the end of the course.
Right.
But then a month and 2 and 3 months later, their boss notices that they're no better at time management than they were before.
Right.
And that's because they were assessed on what they were taught, not what they've learned and applied. And so at
Right.
Entelechy Academy, we assess what you've learned and applied, not what you were taught. And of course, in order to become good at time management, you need to learn to be accountable, responsible, disciplined, organized, efficient, reliable. And so we help people learn to develop the character qualities that underpin time management, rather than tell them what good time management is and what best practice is. So people work on the character qualities that underpin the soft skill.
Right.
And so there are 54 character qualities that underpin everything, and including hard skills and soft skills. And we've mapped our 54 character qualities against all 77 in-demand soft skills. So what we're basically saying to young people is develop the 54 character qualities, learn to be accountable, responsible, disciplined, organized, efficient, reliable, collaborative, analytical, creative. And that's the set of skills that you weren't taught at school or at university or at college that you're going to need when you get into the workplace. And that's exactly what the workforce is looking for. And so your question was about the future of work. As the world becomes more automated and driven by AI and machine learning and technology, you ought to work on the assumption that any job which can be done by a computer or a robot in 10 years' time will be.
Yeah, for sure.
And even though for the last 10 years, a lot of people said, oh, well, there won't be any blue collar workers left because they'll all be replaced by a robot. Actually, what's come out in the last 6-12 months is actually it's white collar jobs that need to be petrified about AI, because it's accountants and architects and doctors and lawyers that are being replaced by AI,
Right.
not their secretary or receptionist. And so we use very elevated skills in data science and data analytics and data insights and in AI and machine learning to help people develop their human intelligence. So
you're using AI to help people develop their human intelligence. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me more about that. That sounds interesting, because I'd almost think that the more people use AI, right, there might be a school of thought around that the less human intelligence they would need in interaction because they're interacting more with AI.
Well, there are lots of people who are investing billions of dollars to do precisely that. Whether they succeed or not, who knows? Only time will tell. But there are a group of people who believe that the world could survive with a lot less people, and that the people that are left over can have a chip implanted in them and they can become humanoid and effectively be programmed by AI.
We're getting into a little science fiction, right?
Well, it's not really that science fiction anymore, is it? But I think that AI, this is a strange story, but it's a true story. So we all have heard that cyanide is poisonous. But every morning I take a microdose of cyanide in the form of vitamin B17. Because a tiny microdose every day eats cancer cells. And I take 5 of these little almond kernels. However, if I took 55, I'd kill myself. So a little bit of cyanide's a good thing, and a lot of it's a harmful thing. And I think that AI is no different. It's the purpose of AI. And so if your purpose is to make AI take over the world and take over humanity and take over every decision, then that's one path to go down to. Equally, if I could help you become your Entelechy using some AI programming in our app, for example,
Mhm.
to help you learn how to develop the character qualities that you've chosen to learn, then we're using AI for a good purpose.
Absolutely.
And so I don't think you can just put AI in one bucket. It can go into lots of different buckets. And
Totally.
we've chosen to use AI with a very positive human intelligence enhancement purpose.
So how, just for listeners and for myself too, right? I'm just beginning to open my mind to all the incredible and not so incredible things that AI can do. How do you implement that so that I would become more responsible, for instance, or more disciplined? Like how would I interact with AI for that to be the case? Would it be like my coach? So it would
Yes,
check in with me every day kind of
it's,
thing?
it's essentially exactly that. It's an AI coach.
Okay.
And so you can ask your AI coach, I've chosen to learn to be more, what was the word you said, responsible.
Yeah.
Um, Give me ways in which I can become more responsible. Show me ways in which other people in the company have learned to become more responsible that have worked for them. Who
But then
are
how do they check in that I'm actually doing it? Right. So let's say it gives me that information and it says, here's the things you can do. Now, how do I interact with it so that I'm actually doing it? Because I might just be like,
okay? So the
we all
AI.
know a lot of things and don't do it, right?
But I'll give you a real live example that happened a few days ago. One of my
Okay.
colleagues is working on being more open-minded, and the AI coach said to him, "Well, when's a meeting coming up or an opportunity coming up where you can practice being more open-minded?" "Oh, on Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock, I've got this meeting, and my boss is always telling me I need to be more open-minded." Okay, so here's what's the point of the meeting? It's this. Oh, it sounds like this is a way you could be more open-minded. Does that work for you? No. Okay, how about this? Yes, that does work for you. Why does this work for you? This is now where machine learning comes in. Oh, it works
Okay.
for this. Would you like a reminder 10 minutes before the meeting to think about what you just said? Yes, please. After the meeting, would you like me to check in for you to reflect on what had worked and how it had worked and what you've learned and how you can repeat it in the future? Yes, please. Now, all of that is done by AI.
Mhm. Okay, I
And
get
it,
that. And because of
and
the
it
interaction,
not
it's checking in with me and I'm reflecting back to it. So it's forcing, that interaction. So that's holding us accountable to doing what we said we were going to do.
it's a lot more sophisticated than that over time, because over time it will learn what works for you and what doesn't work for you and
Right.
why it works for you.
Right.
um, and and it will also be showing you examples of 20 other colleagues in your team or your division who are also working on being more accountable and what they're doing that's working, and showing you a whole
Right.
bunch of 30-second videos, and you're saying, "Oh, I like that one, that would work for me. I'm not sure about that one. Oh, I love that one." And so it
Right.
learns what you recognize that could work for you, and then it will suggest ways. Well, why don't you try that on your meeting on Friday at lunchtime? Let's check in beforehand, let's check in afterwards.
Right.
It's just like when you hire a personal coach when you're trying to get fit and healthy.
Sure.
It becomes your accountability buddy, and gets to know you. Oh, this has worked for you twice before, let's try this again. And so
Right. So let me ask you this question. What comes up for me? I think that's fascinating, really interesting. And I I think that that's a great support, and I could totally see how that would work, right? If coaching already works today, having like a super smart coach that knows exactly the best questions to ask in that moment and really takes in all your learning and helps you along the way is perfect. I had this discussion with my daughter about like all these bots, right? So this is a coach bot, and there's different other types of um, like you said, learning soft skills. My daughter was talking about how people's friends will be, these animated, these AI tools, these bots, and that they're, that there's a risk that there's then not that real connection and human interaction. What do you
Right.
think about that
No,
missing
no.
part of the human interaction?
But our AI bot is being trained for you to practice all of the things you need to become good at the character quality with another human being. And more to the point, once you're ready for an assessment, because now let's say it starts off with a 180 and you assess yourself, then you get a 360 done by 10 of your colleagues and your boss and what have you, and your family and your friends.
Right.
And whether you think you're responsible or not doesn't really matter. 10 of them think you're not. And you
Right.
should
So,
work on it. So you choose to work on it. And eventually they start saying, wow, I've noticed such a big difference in you. You did this at that meeting on Tuesday, and this happened on Thursday, and well done for this on Friday. And so now you're collecting feedback on what's working. And now everyone in your 10 says, if you asked me again in your 360, I'd now put it as a strength. So now you go for an assessment, which has got 5 parts. The 5th is the third party validated evidence. And the first 4 parts are that you've understood the journey you've been on and what's worked and how you are now responsible for the rest of your life. And then you get a badge. Now, then you can update your 360 in what we call your signature, which now shows that moving from a growth opportunity to a strength. Now, going back to the AI, it's a lot more sophisticated because in every single company with more than 250 employees, where we do our Discover program, where everyone does the 180 and the 360 on these 50, there's 15.7 million data points per individual.
wow.
And so the AI will learn not only how does Penny get better at this, but it will also learn
But it'll
that,
find the patterns across everyone, right?
yes, that the
Right.
Penny works in marketing, and in marketing, the people who are the peak performers have these character qualities, and those in sales, and it might end up saying, so actually, Penny, you'd be better off in sales than in marketing because
Right.
you've got all the character qualities that they don't have over there, but they need.
Right.
Um, but it can also show you content from anybody, anywhere in the company. Well, this is what I did to be more responsible. And it will get more and more smart that you'll go, I like that one, I could try that one. And it might say, well, why don't you connect with Joe in accounts and talk to him about it and ask him to be your accountability buddy if you're trying out his technique and you go and chat to him. So we're actually, our core value is human to human.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I really like that. I was also thinking, it's also a validation, right? Is that I could have that on my resume, like, and other companies would know where you are in your journey by,
No, exactly. So our vision for a year or two down the road is that everybody puts their badges on their LinkedIn profile and on
Sure.
their CV. And so when you're applying for a new job, internally or externally, you can say, well, look, here's my resume, here's where I worked, how long I worked there for, what roles I had. But here are 11 character qualities that I've earned a badge in. If you hire me, you're hiring someone who is organized, efficient, reliable, resilient, confident,
Right.
analytical, strategic, purposeful, whatever and people, and that's exactly the competencies that the employer is looking for in an interview. Here's my technical competence, but here's my human competence.
So what's the time frame of this? Because like you said, sometimes people slip back into the way that they've done things in the past, right? So where do you see the sticky point of people actually, really shifting these traits? There's, there's the level of ignorance is I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not aware. But then there's the I do it some of the time, but not all of the time. And then you get to the point where it's a habit, but it's not yet part of who you are. And then the last level, right, is that it's like truly part of who you are. That's a framework that I use, that's kind of built off the conscious competency model. What's
So
the experience of time? Go ahead.
We take people through a journey which takes them from novice all the way through to mastery, and then beyond mastery is wisdom sharer, where you help other people learn to do it after you've mastered it yourself. And so if you think of a top athlete, it could be a top golfer or anybody.
Sure.
Golfer is a good idea. When the world number one golfer was 15 or 16, they went to the local golf club and had lessons from the local pro who taught them how to play golf. Now they've just won the Masters and they still have a coach.
Sure.
And so absolute top CEOs have a mentor or a coach, top athletes do. And so to your point of, well, we all know we slip back into our old ways. Well, if this AI coach is with you for the whole of your career and gets to know you better and better and better, then it's going to be nudging you and reminding you and encouraging you to be the best version of yourself, your Entelechy. And actually, I don't agree with you that we slip back into things automatically. I remember when I was a young lad, my mother said to me one day, I was probably about 13 or 14, you really need to learn to be more gentlemanly. And I said, oh, how do I do that? And she said, well, go and ask your father. He's very gentlemanly. So I asked my dad, and to use an American phrase, he basically said, well, you fake it till you make it. You see an old lady crossing the street, you go and help her. You see someone who needs help with a pushchair going up and down the stairs or getting onto a bus or something, or an older person in the car park outside a shop, who's
right.
And so I was like, oh, is that all right? Okay, I can do that. So literally for the next 6 months, every time I saw a lady with a pushchair or a shopping basket or crossing the road or whatever, I would go and offer to be helpful. And the thing I didn't realize was how much I was going to appreciate being told, oh, what a lovely young man you are. What a polite, helpful young man you are. All of the praise you got, the validation.
Right.
And I'm now 64 years old, and I still will open the door for a lady, help her with a shopping bag or a pushchair, because it's in my muscle memory now. Fake it till you make it. And you, after a period of time, you're like, I like being thanked. I like being noticed. I like being appreciated.
Right.
I do it automatically now. So I never slip back into not doing it. I could never.
Right. I get that. You conditioned yourself to that it's part of who you are.
Yeah.
I think there's, it's at some point. So let's
practice makes perfect.
I agree, and it probably will take us off, but we get caught up in different types of self-talk that might change that there might be some situations where there sometimes it's easier, and in other areas it might be harder. But like you said, there was that reinforcement that was there, right? There was a behavior but then there was also the reinforcement, and then it became part of who you are. So we'll leave it at that. That's great. I do believe in that. I do believe that we have to work at our best self all the time, and that there's multiple levels of mastery, right? So I always liken to karate, you don't just get to the black belt and you're done. There's multiple levels of black belt, and there's always little nuances that go into mastery. So the masters know that they're always working on it. So if we can, so as a last question, because we're coming to the top of our time, I think it's fantastic that you're getting into organizations to help people with those skills at that time frame. How do we build those skills at younger ages, right? We're going to be much faster to build them when we get this into the secondary schools, right?
In the UK, we have an organization called ACE, the Association for Character Education, which is a charity, and they work with primary school teachers and pupils to develop character at a very early age. And all of the schools that they work with end up with an outstanding report from mark from the education regulator. And Entelechy Academy gives 1% of our revenues, not our profits, our revenues, to this charity.
Okay, fantastic.
And our vision over the next 10 years that we'll be supporting them in every primary school in the UK. And so that's what we're doing in the UK to help people. And the model is very exportable. And so I think Entelechy Academy had to start somewhere. And because there's such a huge problem in business with this lack of these skills, and employers all around the world just can't find employees. There's such a talent and skills shortage of the people with the right technical and human skills.
Sure.
That's where we've gone to market first. But over time, we have plans to, as part of our global domination strategy, we have plans to get into universities and help people begin their university career. So when they leave university and they've done their research projects or their dissertation, they've learned how to be organized, efficient, reliable, collaborative, communicative, as part of their degree. So in the flow of studies, they can learn the skills they need when they turn up to work. And eventually we'll hopefully get into primary schools and things like that. So
Fantastic.
I think that these really are the skills that everybody needs to succeed in life and work and love and every other aspect of your life. And when we show the 54 character qualities to the young people inside organizations, their number one question is, why weren't we taught this at college?
Right.
Well, I can't answer that question, but we can help you learn them now.
Well, and you can work on that for the future, right? That's like you said, your world domination or how you get to to actualize the potential of this technology.
Okay. As people grow in their career and they get higher and higher positions, how you are collaborative when you start off in a business versus when you're in the C-suite and on the board. You need collaborative, but the way in which you're collaborative is very different. So even people who mastered collaboration earlier on in their career, they still need to work on being collaborative when they get to the board level. And I was just going to finish off very quickly with the story. So a few weeks, going back to Gentlemanly, I was in London. I had to get from A to B for a meeting. It was tight, the scheduling. I had to get on the subway and go from A to B. And as I was going to the subway and I was walking into the station, I saw an old lady who was struggling with her shopping bag and everything. And I thought, oh, I can't stop. I've got to catch this. And I got 5 steps down the staircase, stopped, turned around, went back up, helped her, because I couldn't walk past it. It's not who I am.
Right.
And then I thought, well, that took me 1.5, 2 minutes. And as it happened, I turned up at my meeting at number 88 Cannon Street with 1 minute to spare, and everything was fine. Um, but as I walked down onto the platform, the train came in immediately. And I thought, didn't have to wait 5 minutes.
Right.
The universe acted towards me, karmically, because I did the right thing, and I
Right.
chose not to forget to be a gentleman, even though I've been practicing it for a long time. So I think that we do need to help young people, but in a way, let's start off with the adults in the room, because they haven't been taught these things and they need these things. And the
Right.
more we have advancements in technology, they're going to need them even more and more. And they really are the skills that they don't have, that they don't know they don't have, that their employers are going, why do people turn up from college but don't know how to do this, this, and this? It's like,
Right.
doesn't everybody know how to do that? Well, they don't know how to do it because they were never taught how to do it.
Right. Well, and they're going to be parents someday, most or many of them, and also that's teaching them how to teach their children, right? Because our
Exactly.
children will show up as models of who we are. So
Yeah, so many of my friends and colleagues and our customers, they have children, and they'll have a character quality of the week, and they'll put it on the fridge with a fridge magnet and talk all
yeah,
about, well, who at school this week was showed resilience, and what does resilience mean, and tell me a story about resilience that you learned from your classroom this week or on
right.
television or
Love
whatever.
that.
So that we're bringing these 54 character qualities to life with families, character quality of the week, so
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. As a last question, because I ask every guest this, and it'd be interesting to hear what yours is. What's your definition of productivity and why?
that's an interesting question to ask everybody.
It's always different.
Well, I think, scientifically, productivity is the gross domestic product, if you like, of the effort and energy combined with the resources that produces an outcome in a business. And that business could be me with a ball of wool and some knitting needles making socks,
Mhm.
the business doesn't need. And so how do I be more productive? I can knit faster, or I can have a different kind of wool that is cheaper and more efficient. I can do my sales and marketing of my socks when they're finished and charge them as a luxury item. So I can grow the productivity of my business in lots of ways, but ultimately productivity is what your output is. How do you grow it? Well, there's hundreds of different ways you can grow your productivity. You can sell more for the same cost. You can, um, yeah,
Okay, sounds good. I was expecting you to say something like, well, you said there's 55 characteristics. Uh,
54.
I'm sorry, 54. Is that what you said? 54, sorry, I flipped that over onto the other page. But so it's, so in essence, right, when we learn those 54 and we embody those, then we're making,
Sorry, well, maybe I misunderstood you. I thought you said, what is
what's your
productivity?
definition, right? Not what's the world definition, but what's yours. And
Well,
um,
my definition is I would keep it the same. But if your other question was how do you enhance productivity, I would say through dialing up your character qualities.
okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed this conversation. I can't wait to look more into your technology, and I can't wait to see it everywhere, because it is something that will benefit us as a world population going forward. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you're going to go and click the link to check on. Actually, I'm going to have David give it to us one more time, and it's going to be in the show notes. But, I really want you guys to familiarize yourself with what are these 54 characteristics, and identify, for yourself, whether you use the software and use AI to support you, or you just get it in your head that every week like he said, with children, you could take another characteristic and you could see how you could make yourself better. We all want to be better, as that's, yeah, I think it's intertwined into our makeup. So do something to help make yourself better every day. So before we end out, David, what's the website that they can go to? And it'll be in the show notes.
The best way to contact me personally, if anyone wants to, is through LinkedIn, and it's
Okay.
David C.M. Carter. There's only one of those on LinkedIn. Well, there's about 9,000 David Carters, but David C.M. Carter will get you there straight away. Please also follow Entelechy Academy on LinkedIn. But if you want to contact me or the company, best through LinkedIn.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody. This is Take Back Time, and my name is Penny Zenker. I'll see you in the next episode.